Now, I have easily always been a avid Nintendo fan since I was very, very little. I mean, I'm wearing a really cool Super Smash Brothers t-shirt I got off of a website called QWERTY here in the UK. It's really cool. But I have to be honest, I am not a complete fan of Nintendo's pricing. And that's why I wanted to make this episode of the podcast specifically just me talking about said Nintendo Switch 2 related stuff. And unfortunately, I can't get on board with the pricing and the really predatory way Nintendo are going about implementing a lot of features with the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, straight off the bat, the console itself, I think in the UK is roughly going to be £450 to £500. That's basically putting it around the same price as a Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5 and Steam Deck. But I don't think it's quite as powerful as them, so I don't quite get that. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think the Nintendo Switch is one of the best gaming consoles ever created for the way you can do things in it. Of course, it did struggle to play a lot of games when it should, and the Switch 2 obviously is a massive improvement, and I'm very happy that games like Elden Ring and Cyberpunk and Final Fantasy VII Remake and whatnot are finally coming to Nintendo, which is about time. Absolutely, I 100% agree. However, I have heard that they're not going to be running at like insane graphics and frame rates, and for what is already out there that you can do, especially on like with Cyberpunk on the Steam Deck. I have a Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck it's like black magic. Things work on there when they really shouldn't. If you took a Steam Deck back in time and showed a 11-year-old me who was still rocking a PS1 at that point in '99 that what you'd be able to play in your hand in the future, my mind would have been blown. Really would have been blown. And we were just on the cusp of getting like GTA 3, and GTA 3 was an absolute game changer back then. And you play it now, and it's crusty as hell. But with Nintendo, it's not just the console price aside. Their games are really expensive. Now, I know people have been showing snippets from gaming magazines on social media showing that Nintendo games were really expensive, like 80 quid, 70 quid back in the day. Yes, they were. And they didn't sell as well as PlayStation's games. Nintendo 64 was great. However, I could name you only 20 games which are must-plays for the N64. The rest are pure shovelware and shite. But for PlayStation 1, there were hundreds of games I could recommend to you that are absolute golden on it. And that's just because the games were cheaper, the system sold better. Nintendo obviously had to keep costs. They had high costs because of the fact that they were using cartridges instead of CDs, so it was a lot more fiddly or difficult or something. I'm no expert, I'm just going by memory. But I know that's the reason why, and that's the reason why Final Fantasy VII moved over from Nintendo to Sony PlayStation, and obviously became my favorite game of all time because it's golden, and Final Fantasy VII is a game everybody should play, most definitely. But to have these games digital be like rough, I mean, I'm going roughly here because the official UK prices have not been put out, but judging from the American ones more recently, if it's $80, it's gonna be 80 quid here in the UK, which shouldn't happen because $80 is like 70 odd quid to us. So I don't know why they're just charging us the exact same amount. That's just greed. It's pure greed. But to have 80 quid, say, for a digital game and then like close to 90 for a physical game is disgusting. It's vile, because I'll be honest, I can see a slight difference in Super Mario Kart World to the Super Mario Kart 8 was the last one, was it? I can see a slight difference, but not enough to justify the massive price. And let's be honest, Nintendo games, digitally or otherwise, do not go on offer very often. And when they do, they're still 50 quid. On the Nintendo eShop, when Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey or Super Mario Kart went on offer on their store, the cheapest they'd go, I think the cheapest I saw was 40 quid, £45. What the hell? I mean, I know people always say, but it's because they know people to buy them. They know that people love Nintendo games and that they want them. I get it. Doesn't make it right. Absolutely doesn't make it right whatsoever. And the fact that not only are they charging that for their games, but to get the Breath of the Wild you should have played at launch on Switch, where the frame rates are actually solid, so you can go through Kokori Forest without it looking like a pixel frame, You have to pay now like 70 quid to get the version with a better resolution and the faster frame rates. It should not be that much. Absolutely not. And to charge people the upgrade to play the newer thing, which is obviously they're taking a leaf out of Sony's book there, because Sony do it as well. They're not immune to that criticism. But they're not only doing that, but they're also making it so that if you have their Nintendo Online subscription and the expansion pack, you'll get it for free. So as long as it's F you give me money, then everything is fine. But everything is not fine. That's not cool. That's really something that is disgusting, and I am totally against. That's not very consumer friendly, in my opinion. This is why I prefer playing on PC most of the time now anyway, and I've moved away from consoles. I do have a PlayStation 5, but it's mainly used as a Blu-ray player now. And I'm currently watching through the 2004 reboot of Battlestar Galactica. Never seen it before, but I'm loving it. It's pretty cool. So anyway, that was a bit of a digression there. I do apologize on that one. But with the Nintendo Online subscription, not only are they doing that, but they're making it, so I read and so I believe, that after March of 2026, if you want to use voice chat and the video functionality that's included at launch with the Switch 2, you're going to have to start paying from then. So if you want voice chat, you're going to have to pay the Nintendo Online subscription or not have it at all. And that is really, really icky. That's disgusting. And also, more to the point, the new Donkey Kong game coming out, which does look pretty fun, looks pretty cool, don't get me wrong, and it does look pretty shiny, but not 80 quid shiny. But I noticed that it's not. Donkey Kong, the new one, is cheaper than Mario Kart World. So, and I did also see that Square Enix's the HD remake, remaster, whatever it is, of Bravely Default, which I am fairly certain will come to PC one day, so I will just wait for that. Bravely Default 2 came to PC, so I have every faith that the first one will. And if I will get a Switch 2 eventually, but it won't be for a couple of years, and it will only be for Switch 2 exclusives, because everything else I'll just get on PC and play on my Steam Deck. I have no problems with that. I don't have to pay for online on Steam Deck or anything else. It's just, you just buy the game, download it, and it's free. And you didn't hear it from me, but I may or may not, already play the games they're advertising for the Nintendo GameCube games that they are locking onto the Switch 2 and onto the expansion pass. Why that couldn't have gone to the original Switch as well, I don't know. That, again, I think that's just F you give me money. You want to play the Nintendo GameCube games that you've been asking for, you need to buy our new console, and you need to pay the subscription, and then you can play them. And apparently word on the street is they're just standard emulations, which I may or may not have on my Steam Deck, and I can already play said games without paying any NSO subscriptions. I don't know where to get them from or how it works. I can't, but I know you can do it. But it's just all this scumdiggery. I don't like it at all in the slightest. I mean, it's also a matter of time before like games like Sea of Thieves make their way to the Switch 2 as well, which, again, cool. The more the merrier. Sea of Thieves is a fantastic game, but the prices I cannot get behind. And there are so many people online these days that are happy with this. They're just like, it's just business. You're just broke. It's like, no. I mean, yes, people, like, everybody is broke, because especially here in the UK, I can't speak for other countries because I don't live there, but especially here in the UK, everything is expensive. Electricity is expensive, rent is expensive, mortgages are expensive at the moment, food is stupidly expensive, terribly expensive, fuel is expensive, everything is expensive here. If you're American or you're European or whatnot, and you want to know what England is like, watch Robin Hood and watch the Sheriff of Nottingham go around and take somebody's birthday money off of them in the old Disney cartoon. That's what England is like. That is what the UK is like. Our government tax you for everything. They tax on what you earn, what you buy, and even what you've earned that has already been taxed. If you then want to leave that to a loved one in the future, it gets taxed again. It just sucks. And that's just the way it is. And of course, I like Nintendo don't care. That they know that this is gonna. Don't get me wrong. I have no doubt whatsoever the Switch 2 will sell out instantly. I have no delusions to say that although the prices, in my opinion, are outrageous, doesn't mean it's not going to do very well. The Switch 2 is going to do incredibly well. It's going to sell like hotcakes, and it's just going to be something that is just older gamers like me, which find it all disgusting, we're just gonna have to come to terms with, because that is life. And I don't think the minority of us that are actually kicking up a stink about it are going to do anything. Nintendo ain't going to change. Ever since the original, well, not original, but the more recent director of Nintendo passed away, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago, whatever it was. Ever since then, because he was dead against DLCs and all that kind of stuff, and ever since then, Nintendo have just been doing scummy things, and that's just the way they've become, and it is such a shame. But I, for one, am just 100% against the pricing of the Switch 2. I have no doubt it's going to be a great console. I have no doubt it's going to be really cool. I am looking forward to playing Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in higher resolution and at the frame rates they should have had at launch, because Tears of the Kingdom struggled. I hope the next Pokemon game they make, mainline Pokemon game, not that XY Legends game, but I hope the next main one they make actually runs, because my son's been playing Pokemon Scarlet and it runs horrifically. The frame rates are dreadful, the textures are abysmal, it's just not good whatsoever. So I do hope that it is sorted and the Switch 2 is what they are advertising and it can run these games. Although I did hear a whisper that Cyberpunk in performance mode will be running at 40 frames per second. And although, yes, a lot of people run games on the Steam Deck at locked 40 frames per second, that's just to preserve battery life. If you want Cyberpunk to run at 60 while still looking really good, you can on Steam Deck. Sea of Thieves can run pretty much maxed out and locked 60 frames per second on Steam Deck, but I don't think that'll be the same for the Switch 2. But you never know. I've not played one, I don't own one. I'm not going to make a massive plethora of videos saying, don't buy the Switch 2, not at all. If you're a grown-ass man, a grown-ass woman, you want to go out there and you want to buy a Switch 2 with your hard-earned money, you go and buy yourself a Switch 2, knock yourself out. I will give it a miss, but I just think... I think what people need to try and do something against these corporate people, not just say, oh, wow, that's the way it is. Because although, yes, it is, that's the way it is, it's getting worse and it's starting to suck. But let me know down below in the comment section how you feel about the Nintendo prices with the Switch 2 and what they're doing. The fact that they've only got 2 brand new games on launch in the console just takes me back to when they originally launched the N64. What was it? Was it Pilot 64 and Mario 64? I think that was the only 2 games they had at launch. Which, what have they been doing all this time if they've only got those 2 main games? And all the other games that come into the Switch 2, which, don't get me wrong, I'm glad Nintendo Switch is getting... but they're games that people already have. Like, when I do get a Switch 2, I'm not going to buy Elden Ring again. I have it on Xbox Series X, and I also have it on Steam. But everything else now I get on Steam. I will never buy a PlayStation 5 game on PlayStation 5 anymore. I will buy them all. I've been rebuying them all when they're cheap, and I can get codes cheap for them on Steam. I'll just wait for the PC release. I won't get another PlayStation. I will not get another Xbox. I mean, definitely not get another Xbox. What's the point? Pretty soon Gears of War and Halo are going to go to everybody, as well as Fable. And, I mean, the new Fable game coming out, I've got all sorts of trepidation about that, that's for sure. But this whole Switch 2 pricing business is, yes, I'm on the side of the fence where I am completely against it, and it is super scummy, as well as locking behind all this stuff behind paywalls that should be just basic necessities on the console itself. But please let me know down below what you think of the whole Nintendo Switch 2 pricing situation, and I hope to catch you on the next podcast. Thank you very much for watching.